So Zoomers, I know some of you are new to Zooming, so I'm just going to give you a couple tips. So I've set my camera up really low, and then what I do is I'm like basically 2 steps away. So this is my foot at my camera, and then I'm 2 steps away, and that gives me a really good view of you if you want me to see you. If you don't want me to see you, I totally get it. I also have light facing me. I've got the windows behind me, so I've got a really big light on me. If you've got windows, it's better to face the windows, and then I'll be able to see you really, really well. And if you see a bunch of people on the screen, if you go to your top right corner, you can touch something. I think it says speaker or something. Yeah, it says speaker view, and you can get rid of everybody else and pretty much just have me if you play around with that. Top Zoom tips. I've got a strap, I've got 2 blocks. We're gonna come down onto our backs, knees together, feet together, hands behind the thighs, make a nice C and come down 1 disc, 1 vertebra at a time, nice and slow, until the back of the skull arrives. Walk your feet towards your seat, 1 leg comes up, other leg comes up. Interlace your fingers, right hand on top, behind the legs, and then feel like you're kind of lifting up into the backs of the knees as the backs of the knees drape down over the thumbs. Lift your elbows, pull your elbows apart, fire up your feet, and just start by kind of pumping the legs to you and away from you. Nice deep, full breaths. Focus on your body from the inside, focus on your breath. And then just letting those pumpings come into circles, knees pushing onto thumbs, thumbs lifting up onto the knees. And then let's swap the interlacing of our fingers. Let's change direction with the circles. And then stopping with the circles, and we're just going to rock from side to side. Feet nice and active. And then stopping with that, we're going to take our hands onto our kneecaps. We're going to lift our elbows up. We're going to push our hands onto our kneecaps, and we're going to lift our knees up into our hands. And then we're going to visualize a ball between our knees, and the inner knees are going to drop the ball, and then the outer knees are going to squeeze the ball. The whole time I'm pushing down with my hands, my feet are together like a creeper. I'm thinking of outer knee winning the pushing war. I'm thinking about inner knee winning the pushing war. My elbows are active. My hands are pushing onto my knees. The backs of the knees are lifting up into my hands. My inner knees are dropping the ball. The outer knees are squeezing the ball. Then I'm going to visualize that the creases of my heels are pushing my heels down into a block, but I'm trying to lift the curvy bit of my heel away from that block. Next time the knees come open, keep the knees open. Take your hands physically to the outer knees and hold them, and really push the hands into the outer knees. Your hands can be higher if you need them to be, but if you have the elbows on the floor, that's great. And then just think about starting to straighten and bend your legs without the knees moving in or out, without the thighs moving up or down. So really keeping those knees in one position as we straighten and bend the legs. We want to have the feet tracking the knees. Think about heavy, heavy weights on your hamstrings, the backs of the legs. Keep those feet nice and active. Good. And then stopping with the back of the knee, we can take our hands to the calf. If our shins are at a 90-degree angle, we could go for the foot a little bit here if we wanted to. But not if that causes us to lift the chin and get wrinkles in the backs of the necks. Gently pull your arms into your body, relax your shoulders, hands are going to pull down as the feet lift up. Feet and knees are pointing out at a slight V. Move your hip flexors into your butt. Just breathing here, nice, smooth, even breaths. So this is a full baby. We're going to take it from a full baby into a half baby. We're going to bend the left knee, letting go of the foot. We're going to bring the sole of the left foot onto the floor. Try not to twist the pelvis. Think outer trochanterus connect, and some of us can start to straighten out that left leg if we wanted to. Really thinking about keeping the pelvis level, gently pulling down with the hand as the leg lifts up. And again, I could be holding my calf, I could be holding my knee. I don't have to have my foot. Let's go 10 nice deep full breaths on this side. And then once those 10 breaths are complete, we're going to bend the knee, we're going to draw the back of the knee up, we're going to bring that foot up, and whether we grab the knee, the calf, or the foot, we return in a full baby, leveling out the hips here. And then really thinking about keeping the hips level as you release the opposite foot, letting that ankle come down towards the floor, finding the ankle, the knee, and the hip in a nice straight line as we start to straighten out that right leg, or keep it bent, just depending on what you're working on. We're looking for the sweet sensation, the stretch, not the screaming stuff. The left leg, the knee, and the foot are pointing, at about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Right toes are pointing straight ahead with the knee at about 12 o'clock. Let's go 10 breaths on this side. So again, we could have a bent knee, we could be just holding on to the opposite knee. I'm just taking this to your bus stop, not pushing past the point of comfort. And then when those 10 breaths are complete, we're going to slowly lift up at the back of that right knee, bring the hamstring to us, and lift that right foot to a place where it's comfortable, and return into a full baby. Shoulders and neck relaxed, everybody breathing. Let's take 10 more breaths here. When those 10 breaths are complete, you're going to release your feet. You're going to have one hand on one knee, one hand on the other knee. Just like before, the backs of the knees are going to lift up into the hands, and we're going to draw nice big circles with our knees, keeping our feet active. Everybody's breathing. And then change direction with circles. And stopping with those circles, let's bring our feet onto the floor. Let's have the big toe edge of the foot touching, soles of the feet on the floor for a creeper. And let's just review the inner knee dropping the ball, outer knee squeezing the ball as we open and close our knees, keeping the soles of the feet firmly planted on the floor. And then we're going to take the knees as wide as we can comfortably without the soles of the feet lifting. We're going to find a nice neutral pelvis. We're going to push into our elbows to lengthen the back rib cage away from the pelvis. We're going to lift up the back of the skull to lengthen the back of the skull away from the shoulders. We're then going to reach our elbows up towards the sky. Right hand's going to grab left elbow, left hand's going to grab right elbow. Elbows are directly over the shoulders. We're going to root our elbows down into a table, and then we're going to start with a couple shoulder push-ups here. We're going to move those arm bones in and out of the shoulder sockets. The elbows are pulling apart. If you were to let go, they come slamming down to the floor. The elbows are pushing down into a table and they're lifting up into a ceiling so that those elbows are rock solid stable. We're then going to find extension, no tension, where we've not got a valley between the shoulders, but we can shake the heads for no. We're going to keep the action of the elbows and we're going to take them to one side. As they go to one side, the opposite elbow is going to pull apart. We're going to root the elbows into a table. We're going to lift the elbows up into a ceiling, and we're just going to breathe here. Nice, smooth, even breaths. Keep pulling the elbows apart, keep rooting them down, keep lifting them up. Inhale the elbows back to center, take the elbows to the other side. Again, really find that connection of the elbows pulling in all directions. Relax your shoulders. Big breaths here. Do a little bit of work on the lymph before we come off the floor. Let's just go back and forth a few times, but really thinking of that action of elbows lifting up, elbows pushing down, elbows pulling apart. And then we'll stop with the elbows over the shoulders. We're going to exhale to bring the arms towards the floor. We're going to inhale to take the arms towards the ears. Exhale, arms towards our ribs. Inhale, arms towards our ears. So just some shoulder pumps here. Inhale to bring the arms up, exhale to bring the arms down. The whole time, the soles of the feet are completely on the floor. Big toes are pushing down as much as the baby toes. And then we're going to stop with our elbows over our chest. So they're right over our shoulders, and then we're going to open up the arms. So the elbows are pulling apart so much that the elbows hit the floor, and then you're going to recross the elbows with the opposite arm on top. No valleys in the shoulders. Elbows to the floor, keeping the 90, elbows back to one another. Elbows to the floor, elbows back to one another, as we just bring the elbows to and from the floor, swapping the crossing as we do so. Really root those elbows into the earth to feel how strong those elbows can be. And the next time the left arm comes on top, you're going to grab your elbows. You're going to pull your elbows apart just like you did before, but this time you've got little hooks of the fingers on those elbows, so they're not getting anywhere. Push down, lift up, take both elbows to the right, but keep the pulling more. Keep lifting the elbows up, keep pushing the elbows down. And then back to center, both elbows to the left to hold, find the pull and the push. If your legs fatigue, you can always bring your knees together and take your feet apart, coming into the counter posture. As we go back and forth with our elbows a few times, keeping them at a shoulder's height. And for most of us, the rooting down action is really important here. And then stop with the elbows over the shoulders. Exhale to bring the arms down. Inhale to bring the arms towards the ears. Exhale, arms towards the ribs. Inhale, arms towards the ears. As we just open and close those arms. Let's do 3 more. And then let those arms come beside you, palms facing up, let the shoulders relax. Take a few deep breaths here. And then draw those knees together. We're going to roll off to one side. I'm just going to do a little bit of side work here. We're going to take one block between our feet flexed. We're going to take one block to our outer knee. We're going to get our thighs at a 90 degree with our belly, and we can have our arms straight on the floor if we wanted to. We could have a headstand arm, maybe even floating the ear and rooting your head into your hand like a slingshot for a while, trying to find a neutral neck and strengthen your neck while you're here. If you have any neck stuff, you could take a block underneath your head and have your arms straight out in front of you. But for now, let's try and stack the knees, the shoulders, and the hips.
I'm pushing.
That's why he doesn't get to come to yoga much, because he kicks people off their mats. Henry, go to your own mat, please. With an empty room, he's kicking people off their mats. All right, so knees stacked, hips stacked, ankles stacked. Let's take this right arm, just like we did before, as if it was holding onto an elbow, right? So it's like you're doing this out in front of the chest. You're going to reach the elbow away from you. You're going to pull the elbow to you. You're going to reach the elbow away from you. You're going to pull the elbow to you. So for now, we're just taking that humerus bone in and out of the shoulder socket. And then we're going to arrive at a 90 with the elbow right over the wrist. And then we're going to take the elbow up. We're going to take the elbow down. We're going to take the elbow up. We're going to take the elbow down. Good. And then stop with the elbow right over the wrist. Feel how you can get rid of your angel wings. Don't let that elbow move. And then you're going to take your knee forward and you're going to take your knee back. Okay? So think about the back of the knee, pulling the knee forward, back of the pelvis, pushing forward, and then take the kneecap and the hip flexor back. The pelvis is moving with the knee, and we're learning how to inject our femur. If it's too much, you can ditch the weight on the knee, right? But try and keep that knee, ankle, and hip level. Good. We're just going to do a little bit of this work just to figure out how we can stabilize our own knees, strengthen where they're weak, so femur in and femur out. Great. And then pull the femur in as close to the pelvis as you can. Take that pelvis as far back as you can, and just observe your range, right? How far back is your knee compared to the other knee? Because that'll grow. It's kind of fun to watch yourself get better at things, no matter how old you are. And then take that knee all the way forward and see what your range is there. Good. And then check it out. And then bring the knees to stack. Lift your hand, feel your pelvis. Don't allow your pelvis to move, so use a combination of pulling in and out with the femur, and lift your knee up as high as you can without the pelvis or the shoulder moving. See if you can try and get that block to come off without the pelvis moving. Lift, 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 lift. There we go. Took a bit. Let's go 5 more breaths here. Good stuff. And I want us to memorize all these feelings. All these muscles we're using to stabilize the pelvis and the joints. Good. And then release. Great. If the block's handy, put the block between your knees. Push yourself up and try and come over the other side, keeping the blocks. And then you're going to mimic your arm on this side. So whatever arm we took on the other side, whether it was a floating headstand, like a slingshot, the head pulling back, elbow reaching like we learned to do, or you could have your arm straight, or you could have your arm out in front of you. But do your sides the same. Find the thigh ankle and the shin ankle the same, and then take that block to your outer knee. Start with your shoulders stacked, no angel wings. Head on the arm or wherever it is, floating if it's floating, and then you're going to move the elbow in and out. Knee and pelvis aren't moving, but you're going to move the elbow in and out. You're going to notice how that moves the shoulder. Knees don't have to be affected, pelvis doesn't have to be affected. And then we're going to stop with the elbow over the wrist, and we're going to go up and down with the elbow. Take it all the way up, all the way down. And then stop with the elbow right over the wrist. Good stuff. We're going to pull the femur all the way back without the elbow being affected. We're going to pull the femur all the way forward, keeping it at that same height. We're going to pull the femur all the way back, and we're going to pull the femur all the way forward. So as we come into our standing twist, we want to remember all these actions, and we want to really focus on keeping those elbows strong and stable. And we want to know how to level our pelvis. Let's take that leg all the way back. See if you can keep your elbow over your wrist and see if your range is the same from side to side. Is there a really big difference between your right side and your left side where your knees fall? When you pull that left knee all the way back, how far is it away from the bottom knee? And then take that knee all the way forward and compare that range. Inner knee lifting up to keep that block level, taking breaks whenever you need to take breaks. Feel like there's a little hand on your pelvis, giving it a little shove. Check out your range. Good work, everybody. And then bring that knee back to neutral. Fire up your feet. Hand is going to come to your pelvis, and then you're going to lift that top leg without moving the pelvis. So you think about all the muscles you just figured out to keep you stable in the pelvis, and you lift the knee. Good work. And then if it's handy, you're going to grab that block, you're going to place it back between your knees, and you're going to see if you can transition up onto your butt, keeping the blocks. Hands on the kneecaps, sit up nice and tall. If you ditch them, just find them. So it's most narrow width between the knees, medium width between the feet, hands on the knees, nice inhale to lift the chest. We can lean back a little bit if we need to. Right hand's going to stay on that right knee, left hand's going to come behind us like a stake. Some of us are close enough that we can hook the fingers on the outside of the left knee and rest our elbow onto the right knee. And then I want us to think about the hand pulling on the leg as the leg pushes back into the hand and elbow pushing down. Some of us are a little further back, but we can hook that hand and we can imagine the elbow is pushing down. So push the elbows down, lift the elbows up, pull the elbows apart, and allow yourself to twist without the pelvis necessarily shifting. Turn your gaze behind you. If you've got that strong tendency to hunch, lean back a little bit more. See if you can find the center of your sit bones and keep the spine straight, but twist a little further away from your thighs. Perfect example over there. Keep on breathing. Now really remember all the work we did to find the manta ray ribs, the back floating ribs, and feel like there's little elves inside those manta ray ribs, pushing them away from the front floating ribs, and then lengthen the manta ray ribs away from the pelvis, reach into the creases of the elbows, and see if you can spin a little deeper. And then breathe into your back body. Big, beautiful breaths. Super active elbows, super active armpits. Henry, don't even think about it. You're a good boy. You stay right there. Let's go 5 more breaths on this side. When those 5 breaths are complete, coming back to center, hands on the kneecaps. Push down on those kneecaps, lift up into the backs of the knees to lengthen your spine. You could be back here, but see if you can think slingshot into the back of the skull. And then maybe we'll start with the right hand coming behind us to create a stake so we don't fall into that hunchy habit of shortening on the front side of the body. Lengthen the front side of your body, slingshot the back of the skull. Maybe the left hand can grab the outer right knee and you can kick your inner knee to your outer knee to start the twist. Reach and push with the elbow. If you're close enough to really physically root into the legs, do so, but stay even on the 2 sit bones as we start the twist. Really think about leaning into the manta ray ribs, really think about leaning into the back of the skull to twist the torso a little further, and then finally the head goes. Lengthen the manta ray ribs away from your pelvis, lift your armpits away from your hip flexors, and breathe into that back body. So good for us right now. Not only is it calming to our nervous system so that we're just like a little more chilled out, It's so good for our lung health, and there's scientific studies proving now what us yogis have been talking about since this whole damn thing happened. Breathing into your back is one of your best defenses for COVID. Oh, better close the yoga studios. That's the last sarcastic comment, I promise. Kind of, for today. Keep on breathing. Five more breaths on this side. Just focus on your body, focus on your breath. And then unwind back to center. Ditch your blocks, but keep your legs. So your legs are that hips distance apart. You're going to take your arms behind your legs. You're going to reach for your wrists, your forearms, or your elbows. But we don't want that reaching to cause you to hunch your back. And we're really working the inner line of the leg pulling apart. So try not to let those legs come together. So whatever you got it. Pull the arm bones in so that you don't hunch, right? Lift your arms up like you're doing this. Pull your elbows apart like you're doing this, right? And then see if you can come up off the feet onto the sit bones. And for some of us, it might be one foot coming up and then the other foot coming up, but some of us can come right off those sit bones. Now pull the knees apart, but squeeze the ankles in to keep that spacing. So one of the tricks is to not hunch. How do we not hunch? We pull the arm bones in. So let's do a couple shoulder push-ups. And if you have no range in your shoulder push-up, you do less by taking your hands farther apart, which will make your arms longer and you're going to have more space to do a push-up. Pull those arms in, make sure you can shake your head for no, fire up those feet. So think about the crease of the ankle pushing down, think about the heel lifting up, arm bones pushing in all directions, and then the heels and the calves when the pushing more to start to straighten out those legs. Shoulders are tapping onto the armpits are lifting and lengthening, ideally we're keeping our ankles, our knees, and our hips, that hips distance apart, but we're not hunching, we're not losing the ability to say no. Now remember that back body. Lengthen the manta ray ribs away from the pelvis and breathe into that space. Imagine your hands on your hamstrings, pushing your hamstrings towards your belly and sliding your hamstrings down towards your butt. And you're going to pull your belly and your front ribs away from your thighs. And the thighs, the front of your legs, are moving away from your belly. So it's like there's a spacer between your thighs and your belly, and it's pushing your thighs towards your hamstrings, your quads towards your hamstrings, and lengthening them this way. And it's pushing your belly away from your quads and lengthening this way. So you're lifting up from the hip flexors into the armpits. Great. Everyone's like, shut up and move on. All right, fire up those joints, release, and see if you can hold it. Beautiful, everybody. You're a door wedge, and there's a door wedge right here keeping you open. Hamstrings lifting into the door wedge. Beautiful. And then bend those knees. Bring the knees and the feet together, soles of the feet on the floor. Reach around those legs for the wrists or the elbows or the forearms. We just did the right side, so do the right side on top. Let the spine curl. Maybe the forehead rests on your hands, shoulders relax, and just breathe. Good boy, Henry. Let's go 10 more breaths here. When those 10 breaths are complete, left arm's gonna come underneath, right arm's gonna come underneath. This time, knees and feet together. But don't forget that the inner line of the leg is still trying to pull apart. It's just the outer line of the leg is winning that pushing war. Flex your feet. Imagine your heels digging into blocks by the creases, but then the curve of the heel just lifts those feet up. Right? So the crease is holding your foot down, but then the heel wins the pushing war to bring you behind those sit bones. If you can't do a shoulder push-up, then make your arms longer by moving your hands further apart. Relax your shoulders. Think that the quads are trying to get away from the belly and the belly is trying to get away from the quads. The quads are lengthening from the hip flexors to the knees, and the belly and the chest is lengthening from the hip flexors to the collarbones and armpits. And then just do a shin lift, straightening out those legs. We all know elbows are pushing down. We all know elbows are lifting up. And if you have the range, you can even slide those elbows up a little bit, allowing the bottom elbow to lift up more than the top elbow pushes down. And then we can just kind of bring our forehead in without, making our neck unmoney. Otherwise, just keep looking up at those feet. But sometimes it's nice just to slide up onto those calves, bring it in, and maybe the forehead touches the shins. Shoulders still relaxed, backs is still comfortable, everybody's breathing. Give yourself a real good flex. This is amazing for the immune system, and we want to open up those Achilles. Line up those ankles if you can, because one foot's usually bigger than the other, so get those joints in alignment. Find your breath. Focus on your body from the inside and really feel the space within your skin. We're just making note. Some of us can straighten our legs here and some of us can't, and those are two different body types. So remembering if you're able to straighten your legs here or if you are not able to strengthen your legs here. That's very, very helpful. This is boat pose. So lift up your hamstrings, lift up your heels, lift up your elbows and your wrists and your fingers, and see if you can nail it as you release. Beautiful. See if you can come down and up, and down and up, and down and up. How far down? How far up? How far down? How far up? 3 more. Move at your joints. Beautiful. And then bend your knees. This time, left arm on top of right. Knees and ankles together. Doesn't have to be an elbow. Curl it in. Big breaths. With each inhale, feel your whole body expanding like a balloon. And with each exhale, feel your whole body gently contracting like an emptying balloon. Let's go 10 more breaths here, adding a mantra to every single one of those 10 breaths. Coming up nice and tall. So if you are a person that can do boat pose and have straight legs, then you're going to sit on the floor. If you're a person that cannot do boat pose and have straight legs, then you're going to sit on a block. And we're going to review some stuff we've been working on for the last couple weeks. Ankles, knees, and hips in a nice straight line. Heels are on the floor. We got a 90-degree angle foot. Hands on those knees. Nice big inhale to lift and lengthen shoulders back. So some of us are on the floor, some of us are on a block. Ideally, we've got a 90-degree angle between our thighs there, and ideally, we've got a 90-degree angle at the back of the knees. Hands on those knees, nice big inhale to lift and lengthen. Fingers come to the floor, big inhale to lift and lengthen. Walk your fingers forward, keeping neutral rotation of the legs, and then just allowing your head to hang just a little bit. Let your shoulders relax, and just finding your breath. Really, again, thinking about lengthening the front side of the body, hip flexors and armpits tug-of-warring away from one another. Right armpit tug-of-warring away from left hip. Left armpit tug-of-warring away from right hip. Perfect balance between the knees, inner knee, outer knee, inner heel, outer heel, so that it's like you've got perfect vices holding those legs in a neutral rotation. Remember, you can come up and out at anything, anytime you like. But let's see if we've got 10 more breaths left in us here.